Hey everyone, my name is Jake and today we are going to be looking at some malicious compliance stories, so sit back, relax and enjoy. Log everything, you say? Well, okay. I work for a boss who is absolutely abysmal, with a co-worker who is reprehensible professionally. Our organization is remote and both struggle very much in this environment, and admit that they have difficulty organizing themselves, keeping track of priorities, managing multiple balls on the court at once, etc. I am an organizational development manager, so helping staff with resources and training to solve these problems is a part of my job. My team also knows full well that these are not problems I have, and I am well known to be someone with a detail and logistics-oriented mind. So a few months back, my boss asked me to source a project management tool and get it all set up so that we could keep track of our work better. This was all fairly straightforward and simple on my end, though I did expend time and effort programming the whole thing with the team in mind, how they work, what they work on, how we like to report our progress, etc., and creating some automations and integrations that make using this tool super simple, quick, and dummy-proof. One of the boards I built for the team is one to track tickets, requests from other staff and vendors that come in, since these were an area where the team struggled to stay on the same page and get things done on time. Over time, my boss in particular had used this board to manually add tickets, things that were not requested by anyone, things that are just part of our everyday jobs. Things that she just wanted to see done, often things that we were all already working on or had already completed. This sticks in my craw because I believe in using the right tool for the job, and that's not what we made this area for, but okay, whatever. In the interim, everyone but me has also sucked at notating appropriately in the system, dates and categories, which completely screws over the reporting I'm supposed to do on things like turnaround time, request type counts, and so forth. Again, whatever. So I'm pretty miserable with this system at this point because they both suck at using it, but I can't be all that surprised. Well, last night, my boss texted us that we are to start putting everything we do into the ticketing system, and that she really needs accurate information on what we are doing. I have a couple of reactions to this. First, you can't be serious. Micromanaging makes me furious. Second, this is only because she is incapable of managing effectively, and half the time does not know what her own staff is working on. Third, she is not what I built this for. Lastly, I have an educated suspicion that this comes as a result of a recent downsizing org-wide, which included our department. The international brand of our company cannot handle how much our department costs, and they are eager to slash it and looking for justification and so forth by examining our output, and she is desperate to prove we are worth our salaries, most notably hers, which is 50% greater than the next highest in the entire US branch, and more than double the next highest on her team. It is in the 6 figures, and we are an HR team. I'm incredibly annoyed by this new policy, but I'm also interviewing heavily elsewhere and hoping to be gone by December anyway, and really enjoying plotting ways to make her and my coworkers' lives miserable. So, okay, I'll log every single thing. New logs send alerts to their emails and their phones. Last night alone, I logged 45 tasks. Did I send cards to staff who won team awards? Yep, and you better bet I logged every single card for each of 10 staff separately. I also do work for another division that boss and coworker often ignore because it does not relate to them. Did I log every single minute task I did for that division that they will not care to know? Oh, heck yes. And the best part is that this type of granular detail is something they fully believe is part of my personality, because this is what they imagine efficient work looks like, because they're idiots who do not understand efficiency. So it all seems completely innocent on my part. This has all gone better than I planned. I had hoped to just annoy them, my boss especially, as the person who deigned to implement such a policy. Late this morning, we had a snarky, passive-aggressive text from coworker asking for clarification of what constituted a ticket, in clear response to the fact that I had taken the logic of this policy to the point of utter absurdity. This alone pleased me, because it proved my point, but what was better was that when I played dumb, I just thought I would put everything to be safe. My boss showered me with freaking praise. I had hoped to annoy her, but it turns out to be even more satisfying to annoy the heck out of my coworker and be rewarded for it in front of her. While my boss, if annoyed, could have told me to stop, my coworker has no recourse but to send snarky text messages. My heart sang. I'm going to enjoy the heck out of this for at least the rest of the week. Or if the universe shines upon me, for the next 2 to 3 weeks until leaving for a new, much less ridiculous job. That is so stupid, but imagine if they'd have started logging the logs of everything that they log. So you log something, and then you log the other thing saying, oh, I just logged this. And then you log that saying, oh, I logged this by logging that. It just keeps going. You do not want the money I owe you. Okay then. This happened last year. I am a college student in a city 250 kilometers away from home, and both my parents are truck drivers, so they are also away from home most of the time. Because of that, sometimes I am the one who has to handle some things that have to be done in person. In this case, I had to sign to my name a new internet provider because we were having problems with the previous one. I did that in December of the previous year, and the contract lasted until December last year. However, at some point in June, my parents decided to change to a different one because they were getting some very nice benefits and better speeds with it. But because we had signed for 1 year, we either had to keep paying the monthly bill until it expired or pay a compensation, which was more expensive. So we decided to just pay those months and forget about it. The problem started in November, when I forgot to check my bank account balance, and since I do not have overdrafts active, the provider had not been able to charge the monthly fee, because it was more than the money I had. Since they get to charge you for the late payments, they did not inform me of that until December. When I went to the office to sign the needed documents to stop the service, they told me that I would have to pay both months and the late payment fees, which if I remember correctly was around €150 total. Obviously, I was ticked off because we had been paying 6 months for a service we were not using, but it was still my fault for not checking my balance, so I did not argue. Then they also told me that I had to return the equipment. Thing is, until recently, internet providers in my country did not really care that much if you returned the equipment because they used the cheapest options available. But when they realized they could charge you huge fees for not returning it, they all started asking for it. The problem with that was that since for the last 6 months we had been using a different provider with their own equipment, we had stored somewhere around the house the old one, and since we had not been informed about having to return it after that, it ended up getting lost when we did some renovations in the house. After searching for the equipment the whole afternoon with no luck, I gave up and decided to read the contract to see how much I would have to pay. After going through the whole 10-page thing a few times, the only part related to equipment I could find was a single sentence stating that when the contract is terminated, the customer must return the equipment, and if something is damaged or missing, the company name has the right to charge the customer the value of said part as compensation. Since I am a computer science student and know my tech, I knew that what they had given me cost around €50 retail price. So I went to the bank and took out €200 to pay for everything. When I arrived, this is the conversation I had with the girl at the desk. "Hi, we talked earlier today and I'm here to pay what I owe you." Sure, that will be €150. Do you have the equipment with you?" "About that, I'm sorry, but I think I have lost it." "Are you sure? If that is the case, we will have to charge you €90 for it." €90? That is way too much. "I am sorry about that, but it is in the contract you have signed." "Well, I have read the contract a few times, and I am quite sure it says you can charge me what the equipment costs." "Exactly, and that will be €90. I refuse to pay that unless I see a receipt or any other document that shows that the equipment you gave me costs €90. "I will have to make a call for that. Excuse me for a minute." She goes to the back room and calls what I guess was her manager, and after some muffled phone talk, she came back. "Sorry for the wait, I have been informed that I cannot give you the information you are requesting." "Well, then I am only going to pay you the €150 and we can terminate the contract." "Sorry, but you have to pay the full €240 to do that." "I am not going to pay €90 for a brand and model router that costs no more than €50 in any store, and much less for one that you have bought in bulk for even less than that. Then we will have to take legal action for the €240 and you will be blacklisted." "I am not saying I will not pay you the 2 months I legally owe you, I just won't pay the €90 without proof that it's what the equipment costs. I have the €150 here." I proceed to put the €150 on the counter. "Sorry, but the amount you owe us is €240, and we cannot terminate the contract if you don't pay the full amount." "Are you saying you won't take the €150? "Exactly." Okay. I took my money and left. After that, I wrote an email to the company explaining that I wanted to pay the 2 months I owed them, but that I would not pay anything else unless I had a receipt to have some written proof in case they actually decided to take legal action. I did not get a reply. A few weeks later, I got a call asking about the €240, and I told them that I was busy at the moment, but they could send me an email with the details. I never heard back from them. I don't know how everything works over in the US, but it's gonna be like a sticky situation because that girl could just say, "Oh no, I never refused, he refused to pay," and it'll be a he said, she said. I think they should have asked the girl for it in written proof, just like an email or something, just so he has that paper trail for when they take legal action. The correct way to complete a maths test. While I was in high school, 2 friends and I, who I'll call P and S, volunteered to take part in a MESA, Mathematics, Engineering, Science Achievement, math test. We were all going for other projects as well, but this was the only thing we had together, since each math test was taken in groups of 3, where you could work out with your partners. We each wanted to do well on this test, partially because it looked good, and partially because we could, but none of us cared enough to do any actual studying for it. Day of the test comes, and we're sent into a pretty standard classroom with other groups to await beginning the test. Right before we're given the test, we're told how the test will be ranked. Top 3 teams would get medals in a ceremony at the end of the day. We were to be ranked by the percent of correct questions we got out of the number of questions we answered. Any ties would go to the people who answered a larger number of questions. but questions we didn't provide answers wouldn't be counted against us. The test begins, and the three of us are glancing through the test to see how bad it is. There were about 50 questions, difficulty of which were pretty wide-ranging, from stuff we learned 4 years ago to stuff that I wouldn't learn until college. My friends and I tend to be good at being lazy, so we're whispering to each other, wondering how much we should bother when an idea forms. We can't help but start laughing for a solid 2 minutes, even getting one of the invigilators to come by and ask us if everything was okay, to which we just nodded grinning. We went through the entire test, ignoring any question that we even maybe didn't know how to do, and only giving answers to the questions that were stupid easy. Think x plus 5 equals 9 easy. Still giggling to ourselves, we hand in the exam, easily the first team to finish. Fast forward to the award ceremony at the end of the day, and we're each sitting together in eager anticipation. After showing the results of a few other competitions, the results for the math exam show up, and the three of us burst into uncontrollable laughter once again. Out of around a dozen teams or so, we got second place. Second place, all off the back of answering the most simple of the questions we could manage. Our best guess for why we didn't get first is simply that someone else must have answered a larger number of questions, as the number of questions we answered was naturally rather small. We were so proud of how well our stupid plan worked for the rest of the day, and I still look back on this story with a smile. That has got to be the stupidest way I've ever heard an exam be marked. Like, out of the percentage of the ones you answer, like what? Wow guys, look on screen right now, you see those 2 videos right there? They're pretty good. I think you should click at least one of them and watch another one.